Analysis from Khandani Msibi, 360 Global Solutions Group CEO. Mr. Msibi, a pleasure to have you here on SABC News. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Flo, and thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Well, the Finance Minister was task included having to set out, balance between demands for basic income grant and pressure to rein in government spending to cut debt. Has he managed to do so? And really your thoughts generally on the Finance Minister's speech today?
I think the Minister has had an uptick in revenue from what you've seen with the run on the commodity prices, and there's been a positive contribution to reducing the deficit. But I think for me, I see this budget speech, the annual budget speech, as well as the midterm policy statement, as parliamentary rituals that actually the outcome is the same, that we go through this, we get excited to see the minister speaking, but nothing really happens in between the budget speeches. And my biggest concern is the admission of the minister on page 11 of the extent to which South Africans rely on social grants. Yeah. There's 29 million South Africans that now rely on the social grant, which is about 46% of the population. Clearly, that is not sustainable. And there's many reasons why it's not sustainable. One is that the social grants are not enough for people to really have a decent life, right? But at the same time, the increase in social grants is always below the inflation, which actually means that we're approaching a social grant irrelevance period, whereby the social grant will actually be so small in relation to the cost of living that it actually becomes material. And unless we begin to address the fundamentals in the economy and we begin to look at countries that are successful, countries like China have taken 900 million people out of poverty. We need to do that. Countries like the US, they announce quarterly jobs statistics. We announce quarterly unemployment statistics. It's the opposite of what successful countries are doing. And I didn't see in the speech of the minister anything that suggests that we have an emergency plan for an emergency situation. The country is in an emergency. Poverty is deepening, unemployment is deepening, but we play the same game of run-of-the-mill platitudes that actually tick the boxes that we've had a budget speech, minister was good in presentation, but nothing happens on the ground thereafter.
Yeah, and interestingly, you raised the issue of social grants. I was listening to some of the commentary just outside Parliament there, and there was some who felt that this wasn't necessarily, a pro-poor budget. There were complaints about the fact that there wasn't enough said about the issue of the poor in our country, and I wonder if that's your sense too, and if so, what was missing from this midterm budget policy indeed to make it more pro-poor?
I'm more pro-entrepreneurship and employment creation, right? Because that then will result in a lot more people employed, and when they're employed, then they can take care of their loved ones. I think we have become, or we're becoming too much of a nanny state because we're failing to build an economy that can actually absorb our people, and the state ends up having to absorb these people through social grants. And my concern is that there can never be enough of it, because there are so many people that are destitute, that are unemployed, that need housing, that need education, that can't do it themselves. And I think if we don't solve that at the root cause, such that we enable people to look after themselves and their loved ones, we're actually heading for a social grant cliff or social grant irrelevance position. We can add more people, but all I know is that at a certain point, this thing is going to collapse on us, because we're not solving the real problems. The real problems have been tackled by other countries. They are focused on entrepreneurship. They're investing in innovation. the state is making sure that there's more access of capital by business. We don't have that. I mean, you look at the South African capital market, that a lot of young people who have started businesses, they struggle to find to get access to funding, and those are the people that are supposed to be solving the problem of lack and need that our people suffer from. And I think the state is digging itself into a very deep hole that I don't know how they're going to come out of it, because the more money you throw into social grants and you are not throwing money into entrepreneurship, into innovation, it actually means that you must throw more and more into social grant. Yeah. And how long can you really do this sustainably? And I think that to me is a concern, that we have too much of an emphasis on handouts, which are necessary, because without social grants, we would have a very bitter revolution in this country. So they play a role, but I see interventions like social grants as stopgaps. I mean, it's those interventions that buy you time whilst you are solving the real problem. But if you just buying time, doing the buying of the time programs without coming up with the real solutions to the cause, the root cause, we're heading to a cliff, and the fall will be very big. All
right, Mr. Msibi, I wish you had more time. Thanks very much for being with us here on SABC News. Much appreciated, sir.